The Second Commandment, no graven images. Brothers and sisters, today we continue building the foundation of the commandments given to Israel through Moses. The first commandment established who Israel was to serve. Now the second commandment establishes how Israel was to remain spiritually clean and separated from corruption. The second commandment says this: Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. Exodus chapter 20, verses 4 through 5. The Holy Bible. This commandment was given because the nations surrounding Israel were filled with idol worship. Egypt had idols. Canaan had idols. Babylon had idols. Rome had idols. The nations worshipped carved statues, images of false gods, kings, heavenly bodies, animals, and created things. But the Most High commanded Israel to be different. Why? Because idols replaced the Creator with the creation. The second commandment protects the people from spiritual deception. The Most High cannot be reduced to carved stone, gold, wood, or human imagination. Scripture says, To whom then will ye liken God? Or what likeness will ye compare unto him? Isaiah chapter 40, verse 18. The Holy Bible. The Creator is above creation. Yet throughout history, mankind continually tried to reshape worship into something physical, controllable, and man-made. And this became one of Israel's greatest stumbling blocks. Even shortly after receiving the commandments, the people fell into idolatry. In the wilderness, while Moses was on the mountain, the people created the golden calf, and he received them at their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool. And they said, These be thy gods, O Israel. Exodus chapter 32, verse 4. The Holy Bible noticed how quickly the people turned away. Even after witnessing deliverance from Egypt, even after seeing miracles, even after hearing the voice of the Most High, the people still desired visible idols. Why? Because idols appeal to the flesh. People often want something they can physically see instead of walking by faith. But Scripture says, For we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7. The Holy Bible. The second commandment teaches Israel not to trust man-made objects for spiritual power. And this commandment still matters in modern life. Many people today may not bow before golden statues, but modern idolatry still exists everywhere. People idolize celebrities. People idolize money. People idolize political leaders. People idolize technology. People idolize social status. People idolize material possessions. Anything that begins to control your heart more than righteousness becomes an idol. Modern society constantly encourages image worship. People become obsessed with appearance, obsessed with fame, obsessed with followers, obsessed with approval from the world. But the commandments teach separation from vanity and false worship. Scripture warns us clearly, Little children, keep yourselves from idols. 1 John chapter 5, verse 21. The Holy Bible. This warning was not only for ancient times, it applies now more than ever. Because modern idols are often digital, emotional, financial, and psychological. The world trains people to worship success without righteousness, to worship wealth without wisdom, to worship self instead of the Creator. But the second commandment calls Israel back to purity of worship. The Most High desires obedience, humility, and truth, not outward displays while the heart remains corrupted. Even the Messiah taught this principle when he said, God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. John chapter 4, verse 24. The Holy Bible, spirit and truth, not idols, not performances, not empty traditions without obedience. So how do we apply the second commandment today? We remove spiritual corruption from our lives. We stop placing worldly things above righteousness. We avoid worshiping fame, wealth, and power. We examine what controls our thoughts and desires. We worship the Most High through obedience, prayer, study, and truth. And we teach our children not to follow the idols of society. Because the awakening of Israel is not only about identity, it is about spiritual cleansing, returning to holiness, returning to truth, returning to obedience. The commandments were given to separate Israel from the practices of corrupt nations. And the second commandment reminds us that the Creator cannot be replaced by the works of men. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. This commandment calls the people away from false worship and back toward truth, humility, and righteousness before the Most High.